Did you know you can spend 4,200 gold to unlock the MegaMeepo ability just to get it countered by one spell? Yup, one spell. And here's why. When Meepo uses MegaMeepo, all Meepos in the 600 radius around him get pulled in and stacked on top of the main Meepo's head. It says MegaMeepo cannot be dispelled, which is kind of true, but if you hold Alt while hovering over the ability, you'll see the additional tooltip which states, MegaMeepo is cancelled if Meepo is banished, hidden, or becomes untargetable. If you have an ability like Odie's Astral Imprisonment or Shadow Demon's Disruption, those will instantly cancel MegaMeepo, breaking the stack, since they both apply hidden. There are quite a few spells in the game that apply hidden, and if you want to go look for yourself, I'll leave a link to a list of them in the description. So if you're playing against a Meepo, it could be a good idea to keep your spell that applies hidden off cooldown until Meepo uses MegaMeepo. If you have Meepo on your team, maybe don't use your spell that applies hidden on them when they have MegaMeepo active. The MegaMeepo stack also breaks if Meepo uses his shard ability Dig, and even using Manta style. This is for the same reason why you can Manta dodge things. Upon cast, the wielder is invulnerable, hidden, and spell immune for 0.1 second split time. This is the same when using an illusion rune. Now let's talk about what's actually going on when MegaMeepo is used. As I mentioned earlier, all Meepos get pulled in and stacked on the head of the main Meepo, which looks pretty silly. Then there are three main things that happen. Meepo gains additional stats based on how many Meepos are in the stack, his spells get a little stronger, and he gains a new ability, MegaMeepo Fling. Also, there are some interesting interactions with MegaMeepo, like taking a Meepo right out of the middle of the stack, but we'll go over those later. First, let's go over the additional stats. When the Meepos get pulled in and stacked, Meepo gains 50% of the other Meepo's highest base stat. This does not include stats from the +2 additional stats you can get from leveling up, and also does not include stats from items. If you hover over your stats, it'll only be 50% of the white number. So, let's say you have a level 21 Meepo with a butterfly. You can see that Meepo's highest stat is agility, but his highest base stat is strength. If Meepo used MegaMeepo to pull in only one Meepo, he would gain 50% of that Meepo's base strength stat to each of his stats, so an additional 34. If he pulled in all three Meepos, he'd get an additional 102 stats to each of his stats. This is why when you see a Meepo using MegaMeepo, they usually have a ton of HP. When MegaMeepo is active, Earthbind and Poof get buffed based on how many Meepos are stacked. Earthbind will throw an additional net for every Meepo stacked. So if you have 3 Meepos stacked, one cast of Earthbind will throw 4 nets. It might be a little hard to tell, but they're there. This makes it a lot easier to root additional units when they're spread out or standing behind each other. Poof gains a 1 damage multiplier per Meepo stack. So if you have 1 Meepo stacked, it'll do 100 pure damage at level 4 because 1 damage multiplier times 100 is still 100. If you have 2 Meepo stacked, Poof will do 200 damage and 3 Meepo stacked will do 300 damage. The total damage shows doubled here because Poof does damage in the spot Meepo comes from and where he ends up. So if I use it in the same spot like this, it'll apply the damage to the target twice. MegaMeepo Fling. This is a new ability that becomes available once MegaMeepo is used and a stack is formed. This allows Meepo to launch the topmost stacked Meepo at an enemy at a speed of 900, dealing 225 magic damage and slowing them by 60% for 3 seconds. If the targeted unit blinks or moves greater than 2200 units away from the tossed Meepo clone, the Meepo clone won't hit the targeted unit. You can fling a Meepo, start casting Poof towards where you flung your Meepo, and you'll Poof to them after they land. Using MegaMeepo does not save from Chronosphere, Black Hole, Duel, Song of the Siren. It does save from Reaper's Scythe, Winter's Curse, Pulverize, Dismember, Flaming Lasso, Fiend's Grip, and Ice Blast. Juggernaut's Reflected Omnislash with Lotus Orb does not break MegaMeepo because it doesn't apply hidden. It instead applies spell immune, invulnerability, and rooted. Getting bunkered in Undying's Tombstone breaks MegaMeepo. Using Shadow Blade while MegaMeepo is active will keep the stack, but hide the main Meepo on the bottom, which looks like a magic trick. Want to see more magic tricks? If you move a Meepo with Io's Relocate or Coddle's Recall, it'll pull them from the stack, but keep the remaining Meepos in the same spot. If you reposition the main Meepo with either of those spells, it'll bring the whole stack. If you guys know any more interesting interactions with MegaMeepo, let me know, because I'm sure there are some out there. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope you learned something new with me.